See. Right. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another session with your boy Phrankleen. It's exactly 6 o'clock now. I think it's a minute past. So, so many people have been sending me messages about, they can't wait for this session to get started. Myself, I'm also, very, very interested. So I've got someone, Mrs. Is it Lakwe, I should say, right? How do you pronounce it?
Just Lakwe.
Lakwe, forgive me. Mrs. Lakwe Adeoti, right? She's got an extensive knowledge in the poultry business, and she's been very gracious. Had a session with her privately where she took me on a very interesting journey on how this works. So I asked if she would be kind enough to come back and share her knowledge on, say, if somebody wanted to go into this with 2,000, chickens, what to expect, the costs, profits, and potential downsides, how to prepare for it. So I'll let her introduce herself and we'll take it from there. There you go. The floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, first of all, Phrankleen, for the opportunity for inviting me here to come and speak to your audience. I really hope it will be a very good use of our time, be valuable to each and every one of your audience. And even if you don't intend to kickstart a poultry business, at least you have something valuable to take away with you in case of the future that you want to go into the business. Okay, so as Franklin said, my name is Lakwe Adeoti, and I work in the financial services industry, both in Nigeria and in diaspora. I love the art of creating multiple incomes. I'm a believer of the fact that we should not rely on just one source of income. And we should maximize our resources. And how do we do that? By taking full responsibility of our life, of how we come out at the end in terms of our financial freedom. I also run a program on financial intelligence. That is how people can achieve their financial freedom. But basically this evening, we will be talking about the requirements of starting and running a 2,000 poultry business. That is 2,000 layers. I myself have got 22,000 capacity layers running in the southern part of Nigeria. We kickstart the operation of the business in December 2017. So we actually started with 11,000 capacity of layers. That is the point of lay. And now we have 22,000 layers, which is we've doubled what we started with. Of course, we still have room to increase, but for now, we are operating at 22,000 capacity. So my discussion this evening is on the 2,000 requirement. First of all, and I will be discussing based on my experience, based on what I've gone through in running the poultry business, which is my own truth. Obviously, there will be different views of how the poultry should be run and other, from different people. But this is my own experience on running that 22,000 capacity since 2017. So first of all, the first requirement is you need a land to run your poultry business. The land can be acquired by yourself or you can lease a land. I think the best option is to acquire land yourself, that is to buy a land. If you buy a land and you start running your business, at least you have that peace of mind and the owner will not come and meet you and say, they need the land, that you then have to leave the place, and that can happen because of the kind of environment we operate from, in our country. So the best thing is to acquire land. For 2,000 capacity, you need minimum of 3 plots.
Right.
And the reason why I say you need a minimum of 3 plots is that the birds, they need space. They need the fresh air. So you don't want a situation where it will be too small for the operation of your birds, because you also depends on the type of cages or pen house that you install. You need to prepare a place where you will dispose of your waste. We have the deep litter system of pen house, and we have the high-rise type. I operate high-rise type, and now we explain the difference. The difference between the deep litter and the high-rise is the deep litter, you have to clear the waste of the beds like every other day. That is the staff and yourself, if you're on the ground, clearing the waste of that bed every other day. But with the high-rise, you don't need to do that, because there's already a place created beneath the pen house that takes the waste. So the only time you need to get rid of the waste is at the end of the cycle of those beds. That is when the beds have run their cycles. Poultry layers, they do run in cycles, and usually the normal cycle is 22 months. So for the waste, you don't need to do anything to the waste until after that beds have run their cycle. And then by that, they would have turned into manure. And if you have a portion of your land maybe you're using for plantation, you could pour those manure, onto that.
Right.
However, the high-rise is costly than the deep litter, obviously, because of the efficiency of how they operate. But for the purpose of this evening, I will be using the high-rise as an example, because that is what we use in our farm.
Okay.
So I've talked about the high-rise. I've talked about the land that you need to get. You need to get minimum of 3 plots for your 2,000 beds capacity. Right. The next thing I'll be talking about the cost that involves you setting up this 2,000 capacity pen house, your cages, and then the feed, the receiving of the birds from 12 weeks old, and then the vaccine, the medicine, and up to kickstart the operation that the birds will then start laying. So for the construction of the pen house, as I said, construction of the high-rise pen house, you will use obviously the builder to build that place for you. You need nothing less than about 3.3 million to construct for the high-rise, for the 2,000 high-rise beds pen house. And if you're going to do the deep litter one, then you need about 2 million. Again, you could see the difference in the cost. But in the long term, the benefits of you using the high-rise, I think, is far outweigh the cost that you're going, the additional cost that you will incur. Also, regarding a pen house, you could regarding the cages, you could either use locally made cages or you import your cages. For us, we did import the cages from China rather than using the locally made cages. The locally made cages, they're okay, but the durability compared to the ones in China is longer. And obviously, because we are operating from diaspora, we do not want a situation that, today there's issue with this cage, after a month, they're supposed to be repaired. So we just imported. Again, for the purpose of this analysis, I'll be using an example of you importing the cages. So for the 2,000 capacity pen house, the cages come in sets, and each set can contain 120 beds. 120 beds that I mean the 12 weeks point of lay beds, because that is where you collect your beds to be able to go into the cages. So with 2,000 capacity, you need sorry, I'm trying to see my notes.
Yes, please take your time. That's no problem.
Yeah, capacity. So you need 17 sets of the cages, and one cage will cost you about 2,040 equivalent of, each set will cost you 100,000 naira, about 100,000 naira. That includes clearing, the shipping, delivering to your farm. Again, I'm using the cost that we have used to purchase the cage from China. So each of the sets costs us 100,000 naira. So you will need 17 sets. And that 17 sets will take 2,040 points of lay. That is 40 beds. Because again, you're operating a capacity of 2,000, but that 40 beds, sometimes some of those beds can be pecking each other and other. So you just want to separate, or some are being sick, that you want to separate the ones that are being sick into a separate place. So that additional 40 space, you could use that for the purpose of that. So that cost of the cages will be, for the 17 sets, will be 1.7 million. So the 1.7 million, when you add your 3.3 million, that gives you 5 million. And if you're writing, this is a good time to get pen and paper to write. So let's assume you've gotten your pen house built, you've got your cages installed into the pen house. Now you're ready to collect your birds. That is the 12 weeks birds into the pen house. So you've booked, prior to you installing the cages, you would have booked the birds in advance. Remember, you're collecting the birds at 12 weeks, so that is 3 months. Whoever is your supplier has to rear that bird from day-old chicks up to 12 weeks. Some suppliers, if you contact them a week or 2 weeks, they do have the birds available. But just for organization, it's better you book in advance, like 6 weeks. When you'll be needing the birds in 6 weeks' time, then you could get in touch with the suppliers that you will require 2,000 birds. And some of them do a schedule of how you pay, and until they supply the birds to you, then you pay the last instrumental cost for the birds. Right. So the birds usually cost 1,000 naira. So for 2,000, that is 2 million naira for 2,000, 12 weeks point of lay. So you're collecting these birds. You need to feed them, do the vaccination, do the medicine for minimum of 8 weeks. That is 2 months. And in those 2 months, the birds are not laying. Though in some situations, the bird can start laying at 19 weeks, some of them at 18 weeks. But let's go with the normal situation from 20 weeks plus. That's when the birds start laying. So what that means is that you will be feeding the bird, as in you will be bearing the cost of feeding the birds, the cost of vaccination, and the cost of medicine of those birds till they're 20 weeks old, that they will begin to drop eggs for you. So for that 2 weeks, based on our own cost analysis, you will need nothing less than about 1.8 million to feed those birds. So collecting the point of lay, with the feeding, with the medicine, with the vaccination, you need about 3.8 million up to those birds are 20 weeks old. And that brings we're still talking about the capital outlay, and that brings your cost to 8.8 million naira. So I will say it's better to budget like 9 million. So the additional 200K will be for you buying a small generator, like 3 kV generator, your water tanks, your globes, all those little expenses. So let's say the capital outlay for 2,000 layers, 9 million naira. I hope that is clear to the audience. 9 million naira. Now, for that 2,000 layers, you do need 2 staffs. And the way it works is, if you will be part of the day-to-day operation of the business, that is your hands-on, you're available, then you need just 1 more staff with you to operate the 2,000 capacity. But if you will not be hands-on, that is, you will not be available, then you need 2 staffs to be able to operate the 2,000 capacity. So normally you start feeding those birds. So from 20 weeks plus, the birds start dropping. That is, they start dropping eggs for you. For the next 4 weeks, the eggs that the birds will drop, they start dropping what is called the pullets. That is the smallest eggs. Then they move rapidly to the size, to the medium size, within that 4 weeks. So the eggs that the 2,000 layers will be laying, the revenue, that is when you begin to sell those eggs, the revenue will just be enough to cover the cost. There's no profit till that 24 weeks, because they're not operating at their maximum capacity, they're just starting. So whatever revenue you receive, you will find out that it's just as equivalent to how much feeds, vaccination, the vaccination, the medicine that and then the staff salary. So it will barely just cover that. But from 25 weeks, then the bird will start dropping rapidly. And within 2 weeks, they move from medium to what is called the large eggs. So what that means is that they start dropping initially with what is called the pullets, which is the small, then they move to medium, then they move to large. However, once they get to large, then they will be on large, throughout the life cycle of the birds. Usually the cycle is 22 months, which is 1 year, that's 1 year, 10 months, right? Yeah, that's 1 year, 10 months. But because when they finish the cycle, you have to clean the pen house, you have to disinfect the whole environment and all that. So let's just say 2 years, 24 months. Some of them do exceed 22 months, but the normal period is 22 months. So let's say 22 years for the whole cycle of the birds for you to get new set of birds. So we have established that you will spend 9 million for your capital outlay. We've established the time the bird will start laying, the duration of the period. So let's now take it from 26 weeks, because by that 26 weeks, we are sure that the birds are laying large eggs. Right now at the market, the minimum price for the large eggs is 850 naira. That is the farm gates. What that means is that you're producing at your farm. You're not taking it to the market yourself. You're selling to those buying at wholesale.
Right.
You're selling wholesale, so to those that will retail in the market. However, that is what we do, obviously, because of our capacity. But if you're starting with 2,000, my own suggestion is that you actually should go and sell your eggs yourself in the market. Because when you go to sell it in the market, you will not sell it for nothing less than 1,000 to 1,200.
Okay.
So, but for the purpose of this analysis, we will be using farm gate price, which is what we do. But for 2,000 birds, I think you can get an outlet in the market to sell your eggs at 1,000, 1,001, 1,200. Depends on the demands and the supply in the market. And when you look at the cost versus benefit analysis of you having to go and get an outlet, because you have to pay for that outlet, but versus the price difference per crate, you will see that the benefits really, really outweigh the cost of getting that outlet. For the 2,000 birds, they can produce, by that 26 week, you expect them to be producing at least minimum of 75% production. And how do you get 75% production? That is the number of the eggs, that is the number of crates. In a crate, normal crate is 30 crates, 30 pieces in a crate. So you expect at 75%, your birds should produce about 50. How do you get the 75? That is 50 multiplied by 30, which is, I know some days in the month are 31 days, but we're just going to use average of 30 days, then divided by the number of birds. So that gives you your production percentage. Or from 50 crates to 53 crates. 53 crates will give you 80% production. So let's do the maths. Let's say you're operating at 80%, 850 multiplied by 53. That gives you daily, that gives you about 45,050 naira. So let's just say 45,000 naira. That is your production, your sales revenue daily for that 53. Because when you multiply 53 by 850, you get your 45,000. Now, at that age, the birds will be consuming about 100 grams per bird.
Right.
Each of the feed can come in 25 kilogram or 50 kilogram. Again, for the purpose of this analysis, we'll be using 25 kilogram. A 25 kilogram sells for 3,100 naira. And with 100 grams of 2,000 birds, and how do you multiply that? 100 times 2,000, then divided by 1,000, a gram, 1,000 grams is 1 kilo, right? And then you divide by your 25 kilogram. I'm going to repeat for the purpose of this writing. 100 grams per bed, multiplied by your 2,000 beds. Your 2,000 beds, you then get 200,000. Then you divide by 1,000. Why 1,000? Because 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram. And then each bag is 25 kilograms. Then you divide that by 25. So you find out that you will be feeding your 2,000 birds with 8 bags of 25 kilograms. 8 bags multiplied by 3,100, that will give you 24,800 naira. That is the cost of the feed per day. So let's do the maths. 24,800 multiplied by 30, that gives you 744,000 naira in a month. You will need to feed those 2,000 beds with 744,000 naira. Remember, your beds are producing 45,000 naira daily. So multiply your 45,000 naira, multiply it by 30. You are going to get, that is in a month, 53 crates multiplied by 30. That will give you 1,590 crates at 850 naira. That is if you're selling at farm gates, that you're not in the market yourself. So that gives you 1,351,500 naira, your sales revenue. Remember, you're buying your feeds for the month for 2,000 capacity, 744,000. Your sales revenue is 1,351,500. When you take away your feeding costs from your sales revenue, you will have a balance of 607,500 naira. Now, the birds, you will need to give them some certain medicine every month. Vitamins and what is called Lasota is a kind of vaccine. So for the 2,000 birds, you don't need to spend more than, and that's once a month, about 7,500 naira. Let's take that from 607,500. That gives you a balance of 600,000 naira. Now, remember, you've got your little generator there. You need to disinfect your environment, the cleaning. It's called biosecurity in poultry business. That is, you want to keep the environment clean. Just any little petty expenses. So let's budget 10,000 for that in a month. And that brings you to the balance of 590,000. The main expenses in running your 2,000 beds, the feeding, the medicine, and the petty cash for your environment. So I hope the audience are clear on how we get to the 590,000 naira. Now, if you're working in the farm yourself, that is your hands-on with a staff, your salary and the staff salary depends on your expenses or your day-to-day living expenses. It should not be more than 150K. It could be lower, but for the purpose of this analysis, I'll put it at 150,000. That is your salary with the staff salary that you on the ground. However, if you're not on the ground and you just employ 2 staffs, it should not be up to that at all. But let's assume you're hands-on. Because I know a lot of your audience, they might want to do this for themselves. So 150K. If we take 150,000, when we take that from 590, we have 440,000. That is, suppose you're using 150. Some might just do 100K. As I said, it depends on your expenses. So you have a balance of 440,000 naira every month from your 2,000 layers. I need to point out at this junction that you will not finish with 2,000 layers because there will be what is called mortality. That is, some birds will die. It's part and parcel of the business. However, to really reduce the mortality to the barest minimum depends on how you do your biosecurity, how you look after your environment, the fresh air for the birds, how you look after the feed, basically like normal human being, how you look after yourself, you keep healthy, you're doing fine, you're not in the hospital, you're not falling sick. But if you're not looking after your environment, the disinfectant, the staff is not being clean and all that, of course, you can pass bacteria to these birds. So the more your biosecurity is high, the better for the healthy, of your birds, and you make sure they're getting this vitamin, they're getting the lasota, and well looked after. So you really reduce your mortality to the barest minimum. Now, when the bird gets to 40 weeks old, remember you're giving them 100 grams from 26 weeks, right? So when the bird gets to 40 weeks old, you need to increase, because it's just like a baby. A baby is grown. Maybe you start on Cerelac and all that. Now they can eat, solid food. So you need to increase your feed to 115 grams till the end of the cycle. You need to increase it to 115 grams. So now, so let's go the difference, because as they grow older, remember the 75 to 80% production, you can reach 90% production, depends on how you manage it. So if you're on the ground, as in ants on your farm, you should be able to target at least 90%. Some even get to 95%. I've heard about a farm getting to 97, 96. So it could actually go higher. But for the purpose of just this analysis, we're just using 75 to 80%. So now 440, remember at the beginning, I did say you will get the point of lay at 12 weeks. You will feed them and look after them for 2 months, which is that brings it to 2. That brings it to 5 months. Remember, I then said when they start laying in 1 month, you're not getting anything. Whatever they produce exactly goes into the cost, the expenses of the feeding and all that. So that is 6 months. 3 months before you get the bed, and 3 months before they start laying. And I said the cycle of beds is 22 months. So when you take away this 6 months from the 22, you get 14 months left, right? Now the 14 months, no, sorry, not 14 months. I think you get 16 months left. Yeah, it's 16 months, because 16 plus 6, that's 22, right? Yeah, you get 16 months left. However, just like every human being, the birds, they will keep growing and growing. When they get to the 20th month of their life, the level of their productivity will be decreasing. That is, they're not laying at that same 80% or 90%. Like, it's just like adult, woman, you get with 80 something. I know there's miracle, but just, ceteris paribus, all things equal, the person can give birth again. Do you understand? So now, out of the 16 months, let's use 14 months, because that 14 months, they should be at their peak performance with good management. So your 440 multiplied by 14 months, that gives you 6,160,000. That is 6.16 M, right? Now the last 2 months, let's assume that their production, we're not even assuming, that's the reality that will happen. The production have dropped. So let's say those 2 months, you were able to just have 250K. That is 500,000 rather than the, almost 900K. So when you add that to the 6.16, then you have 6,660,000. All right. And that ends the cycle of your beds. Remember, while all this is going on, you're paying yourself monthly salary, all the cost of the beds, are being made. So this 6.6 that we're talking about, that is what is left after all expenses. Let's assume that you're separating your profit, your something didn't happen that you didn't have to go and take like 1 million, dipping your hand into the capital, or you're just you've disciplined yourself to just restrict yourself as if you're working for any company paying you that salary, and that's what you're living on. Okay, so you have the 6.660. Remember, we said at the cost of production, when you collect the birds at 12 weeks, the feeding, the medicine, and all that, for those 2 months, you need about 3.8 million. Right? So that 3.8 million, because that's what you have to put aside for your next cycle that you're going to run again. Because then you need to book another 12 weeks old of 2,000 capacity, then prepare yourself that you're going to feed it, you know, medicine, vaccinate the birds. So you set aside 3.8 million, and that leaves you with 2.860. 2.860, right? That 2.860 is more or less like your profit. Remember,
Right.
you're not taking any profit. That's different from your salary. Your salary is part of the cost of running the business. After all, if you're working for a company, you're going to get paid. So you're being paid your monthly salary. So you are now left with 2.860. I want us to remember that this 2.80 can go up, because if you're not selling at farm gates, you will make more. If you're not running the farm yourself, obviously you're not going to pay the staff exactly what you're going to pay yourself. So, but again, let's base it on this 2.86 million naira. That is what you will likely make at the end of the cycle for the 2,000 beds capacity. It can go up, all things being equal. You could decide not to sell at the farm gate. As I said, how we advise with 2,000 capacity, it's not big enough to sell at the farm gate. Take your eggs to the market and maximize your profit and reduce your cost of production of the bed. So that brings us to the end of the analysis of the 2,000 beds capacity. But I've got this short note I need to make clear. Now, on the political and economic scenario of our country, it's not just because of the COVID. We know that the government have been shouting on how agriculture can provide source of employment for the unemployment youth in our country. So if you're able to establish this 2,000 capacity, it actually gives you that opportunity of accessing the intervention funds provided by the federal government, via the CBN for agri, because they've seen that you have made efforts. You put something down now.
Sorry to interrupt you. Provided you register your business, I think it's important to emphasize that people need to
absolutely. Oh, yeah. Provided you register your business, you're running your bank accounts, so there's evidence that you can provide to the bank, because most of the time the CBN will not access your application directly. They will go via the banks. So provided you obviously, and honestly, I expect you to have your company bank account, for the 2,000 capacity that you will be running. So because they want to see that is established, that is the only way you can prove that you're running the business. And so with the successful implementation of this plan, will be attractive, to these funds, particularly in the area of working capital finance, or if you want to expand your business. All what I've said is under the assumption of the projection that this will be financed by the owner. That is, you're not borrowing money to kickstart this 2,000 capacity or beds. That the money is going to come from your private fund. Because if you are getting loan to kickstart it, obviously you will have further expenses of interest on this loan and all that. And the numbers shown, as I've discussed, is actually based on the current term. That is what is existing now, without actually discounting the cost of your capital. What I mean by that is the cost of your capital, you're kickstarting this business, is 9 million. If you factor in the inflation period, what 9 million we buy now, in the next 10 years, 9 million will not be able to buy that. So this analysis have not taken into consideration the discounting of your cost of capital, that inflation impact on your 9 million, and the revenue and the cost are shown as at today's prices. Assuming the cost of production increases, that is, the feeds increases, what is expected is that you will have to pass the cost to the customers. That is, it will be covered with increase in the price of your eggs. The cost of the land acquisition has been excluded, as land will always appreciate in value. That is, whatever the amount you have used to purchase your land from whatever part of the country that you decide to operate your poultry, land will always go, increase. We always increase in value. So, ceteris paribus, with the 2.86 million, your payback period for your business should be, by 4 cycles, you should be able to recoup back whatever you have used to establish that 2,000 capacity, provided you're not, if you're expanding, obviously you do what is called the plowback. That's it, you're plowing back, the profit into expansion and all that. Well, for the purpose of...
Sorry, can you possibly expatiate just a bit on, what you said earlier about if one has successfully put their money into doing that minimum of, say, 2,000 capacity, how are they going to be able to access, the fundings that you said that, they can put? Because what I found is a lot of people probably don't even know this, that they might be able to access something from the government to help them then grow the business further. Can you talk about that quickly?
So the bank has got, if you go to CBN website, is there clearly that, support for agri, for SME, for poultry, for crops production and other. And CBN have got NESIM, which is a microfinance bank created by Bankers Association of Nigeria. And their main assignment is to support SME businesses. Another way you can access this fund is your bank that you're banking with, whether Zenith, whether GT, whether Stanbic IBTC, Fidelity Bank, First Bank. CBN have got the process with them. All you need is to ask. And if you actually, like for us, instant, we get email all the time. If you want support, we can put things together for you. But if they don't do that, they don't send that to you. All you need is to ask. That what are the opportunities that you want to do expansion? Because even CBN sanctioned them. If they don't, CBN have given them a target that they need to use yearly to support SME. So if they don't use this fund, they are even penalized. They are sanctioned. Few of them were sanctioned, and Zenith was one of them that got sanctioned last year. And if you go to Zenith's website, you see them shouting out, they're supporting agribusiness, SME, and all that. So all this is available.
They ask, is it just based on how do they assess the business owner? Is it based on they look at your track record, they look at your numbers? Do they ask you for like collateral, if you've got landed properties and stuff before?
So I think if you're asking for less than 10 million, they're not asking for, like land or things like that. No.
Right.
What they're asking for, what you can do, for example, if you acquire your own land that you do not lease, you own that land, you use your money to establish that farm. So they will send their staff to come and do evaluation of your business premises and all that. I think they usually, one of the valuer they engage with is Jide Taiwo. So they get, once their staff come, you will have an account officer comes to the farm, look at everything, because they want to see that this is actually in existence. Remember, your cash flow has been passing through the account and all that. And then what I expect is that as you manage your business, you don't spend all the money. So, for instance, what we do is that we have like a mutual fund or the sukuk that just finished, bonds and all that. So you could be putting some of your money in there. So they also see that you're disciplined enough. You're not at ground zero, as in you're making this profit, but you can't. There's nothing. Your account is always, every month is like a 1 naira 20 pence. Sorry, that's like 1 naira 20 kobo. No, they need to see, that if you've been operating for 24 months, for 8 months, I mean, there should be something. Yeah. Even if you have used it to buy another land for yourself, at least something to show that this is what I've used it for. Not that I've been operating for 14 months, but there's nothing, it's just the normal salary.
The reason I've asked you to emphasize on this, which is very important, is there is this mentality which is also common amongst a lot of small business owners in Nigeria, and I think lack of knowledge. People tend to self-sabotage, because I personally, when I go to Nigeria, you see people with various types of businesses. They tell you they're running businesses, but there is no paperwork. It's not properly documented, and then what you then do is you're unable to access potential fundings that you might be able to get to expand, and then people then complain to say, oh, the government is not helping, or we can't get this. But the clever ones are able to access those things.
Yeah. So even for the purpose of accountability for your own business, for the purpose of being able to watch your progress, for the purpose of you knowing how you're doing. So it's good to keep your books. It's actually good, even without you even needing any loan. It's good to keep your books, because that is the only way you'll be able to know how you're doing, you know, where you started from, where you are, and you know, where you want to go, be able to set the goals, have the vision, you know, what you're trying to achieve, the target. So it's actually good practice for your business. And again, imagine you want to go to embassy or send your kids to school abroad or something. All these documents can also help you with your, you know, application and other stuff.
Fantastic. That's good. So have you covered everything so that we can go into questions and answers?
Yes, I think I've covered everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I've covered everything. I think that should be.
Ladies and gents, thank you for paying attention. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But if you've got your questions, please type your questions now so I can, you know, randomly pick them and pin them to the screen so she can answer you to the best of her knowledge, and then we can wrap up the show. Okay, so please, if you've got questions, put your questions in the, you know, in the comment section so I can pin them right now. I'm waiting. Let me look at if there are questions. Right. Somebody said, where are the birds coming from? Somebody asked that question.
So there are farmers that
I think she's under the impression that the birds come from China, because people have reservations about China. But I don't think so. Am I correct?
No, the birds doesn't come from China. Actually, most of the birds comes from Germany.
Okay.
You know, the little day old chicks, they come from Germany.
Do we not have them? We not have them locally in Nigeria? No.
I'm not aware of the, and it's actually some set of people. If the audience are familiar with poultry business, people like Amo, Animake, they're huge players in the industries. These are people that are, you know, producing millions of crates of eggs daily. So they're big importer of these little day olds. So they then sell the day olds to other farmers that then manage the birds from day old to 12 weeks. Actually, the owner of the farm, as in like me, or somebody with 2,000, can actually manage it from day old themselves. They can buy the day old. But then the day old need extra attention to details. And for you just starting out, I think it's advisable to start with 12 weeks as you grasp the expertise of the industry of how the birds are raised. Then you can start, because if you raise it from day old yourself, that will reduce the cost of your production. Remember I said each is sold for 1,000. You might raise, when you raise, maybe about 700 or 750, but then the risk is if you get it wrong, all the little birds can die. So somebody
asked a question. How it's on the screen? How was she able to manage
how
staff?
am I able to manage the farms?
Managing staff along lines of performances and theft. How have you been able to? You've not talked about a very important point that you told me.
No, I will tell them now, because their questions are coming about cashless, right?
Yes. Please go ahead.
So how do we? And we know the challenges that we have in our country about theft. You know, unfortunately, that's one demon that we have to deal with as a business owner. So what we have done, as I said, I will talk from my own experience. So what we've done is that we actually went cashless. What that means is that we do not accept cash in our farm.
Nice.
If you want to buy, you go to the bank, you make your payments into our business account at GT Bank or Zenith Bank. So I get myself and my husband, we get the email alerts of the payment. We have a GM, that is the general manager, that gets the test alerts. And then the farm manager is looking at the teller that the customers have gone to use to pay, and then checking it with the alert from the farm manager.
Right.
So we do cashless. We do not collect cash. You cannot, if you bring cash in, no, we cannot say to you, you go to the bank and make your payment. So with that cashless, we were able to reduce the opportunity for theft to the barest minimum. Okay, another thing and I will come to the managing of the staff. Another thing we did is we sell in bulk, as I said, with 22,000 capacity. So the minimum number of eggs that we sell is 50 crates because we're selling at farm gates price. Right. So we sell in bulk. And what we've done is that the customers are actually divided into the days of the week. So what that means is that a customer that their days of purchase is Mondays cannot just come on Wednesday to say, I want to buy more crates. No, you follow the days that you have been allotted.
Right.
So with the cashless, with the rotation of the customers, even though I'm not on the ground, I'm able to know the number of customers that comes daily to that farm to buy. Remember, it's a repetitive task. I have an idea of what the number of eggs that the customer buys. So somebody buying 100 every week, you know that Mrs. A, B, and C buys 100 every week. This Mrs. D, E, buys 300 crates every week. So that. And in terms of the staff, remember we're doing cashless. We've rotated the customers into days. We are selling in bulk. We sell in wholesales. As you practice, as you get familiar with the way poultry is run, you then get an idea of at certain age of those birds, what their budgeted production of eggs should be versus what feed they will be eating. Two key expenses, as I've explained earlier, is the feed and the medicine. What we have done that we do not produce our own feed, but it's good if you can produce your feed yourself. But we don't produce our feed. Right now in Nigeria, there's scarcity of maize. So even people producing their feed, they're having challenges in getting maize. So some of them are resorting into commercial layer.
I think that's already that question on the screen. What you're talking about the feed.
Yeah.
There's a question about.
However, it's good to produce your feed, because if you produce your feed, again, you will crash your production cost, which will again increase your profit. So if you really want to go and fully maximize your profit, it's good to go for the. We will get to that stage, but we felt that we need to have more, increase more of our beds, before we start the project of feed. But for now, we buy feed. So now we registered with a company called Olam. It's one of the biggest commercial feeds in Nigeria. So I pay directly, or my husband pay directly, either of us. We are the only people that have access to our account to the supplier directly. All the supplier does is to go and supply in the farm. So they supply the truck. Remember, I said I have an idea of what the number of feeds they eat, the number of feed in the truck, and also for the medicine and the vaccination. We deal with Talo Vet, which is again one of the biggest in the country. Again, we pay directly and they just go to deliver. So these three costs, remember the feed, the medicine, is being taken care of by us. Again, that reduce theft to the barest minimum. But however, what we do is that we look after our staff. We really, really, really look after our staff. We've not had any staff turnover since we start. We look after them. They get lunch allowance every week. They have holiday, and they get leave allowance holiday as well. So, and what we have done is that because they're working for us, they've got family. By the time they leave in our company, they grow old or whenever they leave in the company, provided you're not living based on theft or being sacked or being being disciplined, then there's something, well prepared for you in mutual funds in the FBN Quest, to also sort you out. So we do look after ourselves. We do corporate social responsibility in the village we operate. We have relationship with the people there. So yeah.
Fantastic.
I think that answers that question.
Yeah, that's fine.
How
There's
do
one on
you
the
do
screen.
marketing?
What kind of marketing do you do to sell your chickens? Do you sell them to markets or groceries or restaurants? Do you have contracts with them?
Okay, so one part that I missed before coming to that question is that, you see, when those birds are, and I think I mentioned it though, when the birds are old, you know, I said when they get to like 22 months, that their production have started dropping. So the birds are called spent layers. That is like they've
Right,
used their productive life. So you then sell those birds. When you sell those birds,
right,
when you sell those birds, then those birds is actually what you get money, and then you use it to buy your POL. POL is point of lay.
right,
Now coming back to the marketing. Actually, before we started, we were thinking, how are we going to market, the production of the bird? Imagine 2,000 capacity producing over 500 crates daily. But you know what? Before we actually start operation of the first pen house, which is the 11,000 capacity, customers already came to register, which was what my mentor told me, the consultant that put us through. Remember, we went into the business without having the clue of how the business is, but we're fortunate to have a mentor, a consultant who has a very high level of integrity of character and want us to succeed and ready to take us by the hand. We made payment to him, but that is definitely fine because we got results at the end of
right,
the day. So the customers came themselves to say they heard there's a farm opening in this area. So even before the birds start dropping, they already registered. And
right,
right now, we don't. Oh, I'm not saying, I'm not sure. Maybe it's good or bad. We don't do marketing because they buy. They come to buy. But maybe in the future, as we expand, we might need to do marketing. But for now, we don't do marketing. They come there to buy. So we don't have any contract with any restaurant. You remember, we sell in bulk. So what we find out is that somebody coming to buy 300 crates weekly is actually going to supply like a restaurant. But we don't supply restaurant direct. They come to buy wholesale. They go and sell and make their own profit. So we don't do
You're not,
marketing for
you're not,
now.
you're not bothered about contracts at the moment. As long as you move your stock, I think that does
Yeah,
it for you.
that is key for us. Yeah, moving our stock. Yeah, moving our
Right,
stock.
right, okay. There's a
Somebody said
question,
pros
right?
and cons.
What are the pros and cons? I think you've already talked about the pros, and
Yeah,
you've
I
gone through
mean,
the
every business have got their pros and their
what are the
cons,
bullet points
challenges.
of what can cause financial loss and setbacks.
So what can cause for the key thing is, number one key thing is management. 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 You need to pay attention to what is going on. If you have decided to go into poultry business, you need to equip yourself with the knowledge and the skills of the industry. You do
Right.
not go in and remain on a casual basis. Otherwise, you're going to end up being a casualty if you have no idea of how the business is run. So you don't be a novice in the business you have decided to go and invest in. You prepare yourself to learn. It's not difficult. I don't know anything about poultry business. As I said, I work in financial services. I'm an accountant by profession, but I know a lot about poultry business now because we have chosen to go in there. So I've equipped myself with the knowledge and the skills. Also,
Right.
so if you're not conversant with what is happening, people they will take advantage of you. So
Of course.
that can lead to loss. The cleanliness, the biosecurity, because poultry, the birds, it's easy to get bacteria and all that. But if you don't pay attention to how your environment is, as in the biosecurity, the cleanliness and all that, the staff's uniform, making sure they're clean, their hands, the disinfectant and all that, that can lead to, again, problem. And that can, if you're not conversant with I mentioned that there's supposed to be set of medicine for the birds every month. Imagine you don't know whether they've given the medicine this month. No, you have no idea. So 2-3 months, the birds have not taken their vitamin, their lasota. Of course, it's going to have a ripple effect that will affect your production. And of course, if you're being lackadaisical with things,
can that also lead to mortality and the birds dying and stuff like
that? That will lead to that. Yeah, that will lead to mortality. That will lead to loss. And again, if you're lackadaisical, you're not keeping records. You don't know the customer. You don't know how much they're selling. You have no. You just kind of is there. obviously you wouldn't even know when they're stealing, when they, until things have happened. You're not watching what goes into your account, the customers paying. So if they start find out that you're not paying attention to what is happening in your farm, obviously they will just be helping themselves with some crates and all that. And because you don't know what's happening, then you find out that, oh, 2 months and 3 months and he's running at a loss and all that. Because people have been helping themselves with your business.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So basically, how you advise, you have your daily report, you have your weekly report, we have your monthly report, which is what we do. Yeah, we're on top of reconciliation. Yeah.
So this one says off topic, but any insight on a good city or state in Yoruba land to find land for rice farming? I want to connect my poultry to other farms. Thank you for the info. Are you able to respond to that? I haven't got a clue. Rice farming.
To be honest, land. I mean, land is everywhere. Depends on the location you choose to go and operate. Operate and the size and the capacity. I believe land is everywhere. The only place I know that you might not find land is maybe in the heart of Lagos. The reason is because if you go, even if there's a land that you go and start, development will meet you there, and before you know that, neighbors will start complaining that smelling and all that. So it's good to just go into a remote, like a village or farmland. We operate from as I said, southern part of Nigeria, basically Ogun State. Yeah, so most people, a lot of farmers are in Ogun State. They take their stuff to Lagos even to go and sell, because you don't want to go and open in a Surulere or Iketu before you know 2-bedroom flats is rising up. The 1-bedroom self-contained apartment is rising up, and then you just find yourself in the city. In the midst of residential, obviously they're gonna complain and frustrate you when you find out. So
right. So this person said, how do I get land for farming from government in Nigeria due to the land tenure system in Nigeria? Is it possible
to be honest, I don't know how you get land from government in Nigeria.
You have to
you have to do further research on that. But what I know is that you can buy land for yourself in your name, in your business name. You own it. Yeah. And to be honest, farmland is not so expensive in Nigeria. I mean, it's not like you want to buy land in Lekki for 50 million or Surulere for 30 million. Land is
Somebody's asking.
Yeah, absolutely. CCTV is a very good idea. Yeah, we actually intend to do that this year because we wanted to input a solar system on the solar, onto the farm, and they'll be able to do CCTV. But obviously with COVID, we could not, go ahead with that. But that's part of our, pipeline assignment project to do on the farm. Yeah. What kind of building structure did you? Yeah. What kind of building structure did you put for the bed? Is a high-rise penthouse. I think maybe you didn't join us right from the beginning. Is a high-rise penthouse that we're using. And what that high-rise penthouse does is that the waist of the bed is not in contact with the beds. They're there on the ground, and the beds are up. High rise. The beds are up, so you don't need to clear waste every day or every other day until the end of the cycle. You move it. We've plant some plantain, as in plantain on some of part of our land. So at the end of the cycle, the staff they carry the manure, go and pour onto the plantain, and then So they're not burdened with that task of having to clear waste. But if you do the deep litter system that I talked about, that is less expensive than the pen, than the high rise, then obviously you need to be clearing the waste because
I think this person came late. I'll advise you to watch the video back, but if you just answer this very quickly, one line for him. He said, how much is good enough to start a poultry if you have a land already? She's already been through the figures,
but as we already, yes, the figures are not that. Yeah, I think with we've reached at that 9M, you should be able to start your 2,000, capacity. You could watch the video from the beginning, all the explanation, the cost of production, the feed, everything. Right. We've already talked about that. Yeah.
So this one said, on average, how much do you eventually sell your old layers that no longer lay eggs when they come to the end of their cycle?
So the last, end of the cycle, the last layers we actually sold at 1,200 per bird.
Per bird.
Remember, you get per bird. Yeah. Remember, I said there will be mortality along the line. So that additional, you buy 1,000. that additional to 200, we make up for the mortality that you have experienced. And most of the time, you will still have some gains. Depends on the economies of scale, the number of your capacity. So like 11,000 bed capacity at the end of the spent time. If you sell like 1.2 or 1.3, as in 1,200 or 1,300, you could still have like a 2 million, that is, you will be buying new set of POL, point of lay, from that money. You will still have about 2M or something, it can be more than that because they've sold it for 1,000. If you're selling at December or November time, you could sell as high as 1,600, 1,700, because of the festive or period. Another thing you could do is that, again, because of our whole huge number, how many 11,000 beds are you going to take to the market to go and be selling?
Sure.
But with a 2,000 beds, you could actually go take your beds to the market to go and sell, because right in the market, they're selling for nothing less than 2,000 to 2,004. So again, with 2,000 beds, why not take it to the market? Remember, you have already opened outlet for your head, so take your beds there as well and go and retail. But for somebody like, with 11,000, it's just going to be too much. So we need, again, people that buy in bulk. They come to buy and then go and sell it in retail. But with 2,000, there's nothing wrong. You're taking your beds to the market, go and sell it yourself, and then you maximize your profit.
A few people have been asking this particular question. So I appreciate if you can answer this one. They're asking that why didn't you build your cages locally, like use local suppliers? Why go to China? Why not give business to local? But I know you said earlier about maybe quality and stuff, or do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yes. So remember I said we are the mentor and that acted as our consultant that put us through. And I am of the school of thought that if you do not know something and you want to do something and somebody has done what you're trying to do, wisdom suggests that you listen to advice, because you cannot be too clever, especially when you're coming in as a novice.
Yeah.
All right. So this person have been in the business for over 2 decades. He's made a success of the business. So for us, we've hired him as a consultant. We needed to leverage. We cannot be too clever because we want to cut costs. And I do understand that you want to give business to the local, locally produced. My understanding was that they had not perfected the hearts of the quality and the durability. Remember, I'm speaking with you from diaspora. I'm not on the ground. We want to cut any issue of something breaking, whatever bottleneck that can be cut off. It's very, very key to us. So what I understand was that the locally made can have a lifespan of maybe 4 or 5 years or 6 years, but the imported ones, we have a lifespan of over 10 years, some up to 15 years. So yeah, obviously the locally made will be cheaper, less expensive than the imported ones. Again, we want to maximize as much bottleneck as possible, and that was what the consultant advised us. I'm sure in the future, as things progress in Nigeria, if we're able to do, a quality ones, why not? And if not, so far it's going to serve the purpose.
People are asking, what are the environmental compliance policies by the? You have to deal with any of anything like that in terms of compliance?
So fortunately for us, fortunately for us, some people buy land that are actually not meant for farm area according to the plan of the states. As in the particular land that people have used for farm or something is not actually land or farmland by design of that state. Obviously, we know we do things in Nigeria, but for our own farm, by design of that state, right from the onset, it's actually designed as a farmland.
Right.
So we are using it for the purpose for which it was meant for.
Right.
Okay. So we're not breaching any policy.
Make inquiries, not to blindly buy piece of land that will then become problematic.
Exactly. But because if you go and buy a land and then environmental, you have the deep litter system, the beds waste is smelling, you find yourself that residential area is just about 50 meters to you and people are complaining, so you're breaching policy.
Right.
Yeah. fine. If you're doing like 100 beds at the back of your yard, you know, or 50 or 10, you know, yeah, maybe there's no issue. But by the time you start getting to, you know, capacity, then it's better to just do it right. Yeah.
So people are
Because obviously,
asking that. People are asking if do you provide consultation services, or will you be willing to take people under your wings? And I know Nigerians, they will come at you in thousands. So I've got to ask you that question on the spot. If it's not something you can cater to, you don't have to. So
to be honest, we've actually got two friends here that actually went into it. But again, they went into it blindly. So, you know, not with proper management and all that. So it wasn't something that I planned, but because
right
of the relationship, I had to
with them.
set to come in. And after that, we've had 2 other people that we then had to do consultation for. So
Right.
what I would say is that if the opportunity presents itself, in a serious-minded person that,
Or
you know,
or
want to achieve results and want to do,
me
you know,
being
be a
a
doer,
being
you
a
know,
business
yeah.
guy,
If not,
I can do it this way. My brain's kicked in right now. The business mind in me is kicked in. We can collaborate.
yeah.
If you are, I can
Okay.
talk to you behind the scenes because I'm in the process of setting up my website. I can have consultation on my platform. We can talk about numbers in the background. If that's something you're interested in, I can always bring you. We can have private sessions for people that are interested in it. Or you can have people directly. It's
Yeah,
up to you.
in as much as it will help people to achieve their dream, you know, to fulfill purpose, to generate their streams of income and make something, you know, of themselves. Because what I found out that a lot of people wants to do things, but you know, how do I do it? Where do I start? You know, yeah. So far, you want to do something, you want to get it done, you want to do, have, as in be, do it, and then have. Why not?
This one said,
Free
um,
range, yeah.
why
I
did
know.
you choose
Why did you
traditional
choose traditional
farming
egg farming?
and not free range egg farming?
Again, so the free range egg farming, and I know in Europe, they don't do the traditional caging, obviously, because of the animal rights and all that order. Yeah. It actually costs more to do your free range. Okay. But again, you have to look at the society in which you're operating from. You have to look at your target markets. So let's say, for instance, now I'm at the farm gates. Mr. Hay is selling crates at 850. And I'm saying because I'm doing free range, it's going to cost 1,200. The typical Nigerian, a lot of them, they will buy at 850. They will go, you know, buy at 850. So you need to look at the scenario of the market that you're operating from. Having said that, one can do free range egg farming, but you have to be sure of your target market, the markets that you will be able to sell it to, because you don't want to go and start something that is going to cost way more than the traditional egg farming, and then you find out that you're not really, you know, breaking even. So you need to watch and study the kind of market in which you're operating from. If you're operating like a place like Europe or, you know, or US, they're matured enough to understand the difference. Even some customers will be telling you, what's the difference? Which one is free range? Which one is, you know, is it not the same thing? You understand? So you need to watch the market. But I would say that we should be open enough, you know, to improve our process and all that. But it takes process. It takes stages, you know. So again, study the market in which you're operating from, and seek opportunity when the opportunity presents itself. If the opportunity for free range presents itself, why not? And if not, but for now, remember, we're not on the ground. So yeah.
Right. And so far, you've not recorded any losses, and in terms of how you've been managing, you're quite confident with the progress you're making with the business.
Remember, I told you we started with 11,000 capacity.
Yeah.
And I'm sure based on the 2,000, people can do plus and minus for 11,000 capacity. As I said, I'm an accountant by profession. I work with financial services in Nigeria. I still do here. I love numbers. I don't joke with numbers. So, and of course, it was good for us. That's why we went into expansion. If it was a loss, why would you want to expand into loss? You get my point? Yeah. So far,
just
thank
to
God.
clarify.
Obviously, there's what is called glut that does happen sometime.
Right. Oh, you're breaking up. Can you hear me?
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So there's some situation that what is called glut that does happen in the industry. That's what glut means, is that where you're having more supply than demand.
Right.
So what we normally do is that you target your big customers. So customer buying 300, buying 250 crates weekly. So you liaise with them to push in additional bulk. So instead of buying like 250, you can say they can buy like 500. And because they'll be consistent with you, you know where they're selling, you're used to them. So you can actually grant them credits for that period. So they pay for the 250. You give them credit for additional 250 because you still need to move your stock. Mind you, you cannot stop birds from producing. Birds does not understand gluts. They're producing daily. So you have to devise a means of getting rid of your stock. And that is what we do. And that has been working for us. Or another thing you could do is to expand your market. As in, remember I said we don't market and all that. So let's say then suddenly there's more than enough birds. Right now, we only sell in Ogun State. We don't sell in Lagos. Yeah, why not use Lagos market, to push the goods?
All right. I've got the last question, and then I'll ask you one more question. This person said, does anybody live on the farm?
So nobody lives in the farm.
Okay.
We have security that resumes in the evening and close in the morning when the staff comes in. The reason why we do not have anybody living in the farm is that, remember I said we're in the village, all right? So we find out that the cost of accommodation for staff versus if we build in the farm, the cost is actually way less than we building structures in the farm. Remember I told you I'm a number person. So the staffs, they rent in the village, which is just about 10 minutes walk. The highest is 15 minutes walk to the farm. And then the landlords of those accommodation are paid rather than us taking part of the land and, building structures. Maybe if there's no accommodation nearby, we might have been, under compulsion to build structure. But fortunately, that's what happened. So we looked at the CBA analysis, that's the cost versus benefit analysis. It was okay for the staff to live outside the farm, which is just 10, 15 minutes walk to the farm. So yeah, it's only the security that comes to the evening. Yeah.
Okay. This person asked, can you confirm if 150,000 is enough for salaries monthly, general manager?
No, don't get me wrong. I said 150,000 for you. Mind you, 2,000. What do you need GM for? Do you understand?
Yeah, if you have
don't
a
need a GM. Yeah, I have a GM because we have 22,000 capacity. All right. Remember economies of scale. The bigger it is, the more you can reduce your cost of production, and the higher you can maximize your profit.
Yeah.
For a 2,000 capacity, you don't need a GM. Yeah, you will probably need a security. Depends on where you operate from. You will probably need a security, and this should still go into the. And as I said, depends on your cost.
If the person is in the diaspora, and then they would need a farm manager, right?
Yeah, they would need it. That's why I said if you're not hands-on, you need a farm manager. You need 2 staff. The adding farm manager is making the post to sound cool, all right? Because really for 2,000, the 2 people there, they should be hands-on. It's not about you being boss and being cool. Do you understand? Get your hands dirty and do the work. So yeah, of course you can say farm manager and analysis.
Are you saying 150,000 will be a bit excessive then?
Yes, it will be, because most of the time for that 2,000 capacity, to be honest, You don't need to go and hire a BSc holder to do that. Some coppers do volunteer, even that they want to come and work in the farm, you know. Mind the government, I think government pays them 30,000. Some of them that goes into teaching, they will pay, you know, like 10K or 15K. Though we pay way more than that in our farm. But I'm just saying that, you know, yeah.
There are ways around
but,
it.
I mean, for yourself, if you think you need 200,000, you know, but my own understanding for, especially for a business that you're just starting, is that you want to really be disciplined and see that it succeeds. It's doing well. And they just assume that if you're working for somebody, will they pay you that amount? If not, why not be disciplined, you know, and you know, don't go on frivolous, you know, spending. Otherwise, you're going to dip your hand into the capital for your business. Yeah. If you can discipline yourself, you do 2-3 circles. I mean, you can expand, and obviously you can increase your profits, your bottom line, and all that. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think we've had a fantastic session. I'll talk to you behind the scenes, you know, later on about the idea that I've got. So thank you everyone that's been on the session. I appreciate you. As it stands, it's been a wonderful session. Thank you very much. So I think we'll wrap it up. We'll call it off for the day. And in terms of consultation, I'm working on my website. I think I said that before. Once my website goes back, I'll contact you behind the scenes. I'll let you know. And then I'll tell you what my proposal is in terms of, you know, if people want to consult and how we can collaborate and see how that works for the wider community. But on the final note, thank you, Mrs. Adeoti, for your knowledge. I appreciate you. I'm sure everybody does. And yeah, that's me done. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and do have a good evening. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace and love. Bye-bye. Bye now.